Buenos días, buenas tardes, good evening, guys. Welcome back to the God-Centered Podcast. Yo soy Compa Marco.
Yo soy Compa Mauri. Welcome back, guys.
For a second there, dude, I almost stole your line. I almost said Compa Mauri.
I almost said Compa Marco.
Oh,
dude.
man, we're on the same page then.
Yeah,
but you know what? That's not the only thing we're on the same page about.
Oh.
Apparently, we had a conversation, right? And it seems like we're not having trouble, but this is a hot topic for us this week, and that is parenting.
We're not having trouble, but we are.
There's just a little bit of confusion. You know, it's just being a parent, man. It's not as easy as it seems.
Yeah.
I feel like before when I was younger, I would be like, man, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to raise somebody. But, you know, once you're doing it, you start to realize real quick that what worked before will not work now.
Yeah.
And the ways of teaching might not be relevant anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? That means we have to make some adjustments, some changes.
Adapt.
And honestly, man, sometimes I have a hard time with those changes. When to see, okay, it's time to bring something new that's going to help my son grow. You know, because I have a 4-year-old, and right now he's going to school, and he's a great kid, man. He is, you know, but we have to understand, like I have to understand that Zeke, he's growing up and he's learning about himself.
Yeah.
He's learning about all the things that make him, you know, his words, his actions, the way he moves, how he jumps. Oh man, look how high I can jump, Dad. Let me keep jumping.
Right there, yeah.
Papi, look how fast I can run.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they're just exploring.
Yeah.
And they're exploring every aspect of their lives, you know, every aspect of their small entity that they are. And sometimes we don't do the right things. Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't. You know, how do we address these things? How do we address the right? Because we still need to address the right.
Yeah.
And how do we address the wrong when they're doing something wrong? How do
Yeah.
we correct it? And Zeke, I had this conversation with my wife today. You know, he's been having issues listening to his teachers. Listening to teachers. He's always had a hard time sleeping, man. Like, he always fights his sleep. And now he's fighting his sleep in school. He doesn't want to go to sleep. He wants to stay awake. And I'm like, you know what, mijo, sabes que it's okay. And even the teachers were like, it's okay, Zeke, if you don't want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Just close your eyes.
You could do your own thing.
Just close your eyes and just be still and be quiet. That's it. But my boy,
he didn't want to do that.
he does not want to do that. He thinks, I'm going to be awake. I'm going to go wake up my friends and wake up the whole classroom. And it's been a few times that they talked to us about it, man. And it's how do we as parents get our voice across to help them understand
Yeah.
right from wrong?
Right.
And how do we guide them down that path to where they're going to grow and they're going to see, okay, this is not right. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, I need to do more of this and less of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's almost like what tools do we use to help them?
Yes. That's crazy, bro. I was telling you this earlier.
Yeah.
But I told you, I heard this. I loved it, dude, the first time I heard it. And it was, our kids are books, not journals. I'm like, what's the difference, right? And so the difference is that a journal, you write whatever you want into it, right? You draw pictures. You do whatever you want with a journal. And a book, it's already written. A book is just meant to be read, right? And studied. And our kids are books, not journals. And so God already gave them their abilities, their gifts, you know, different things that they have that are personal to them. It's our job as a parent to lean on God so that he could help us figure that out, right? Because without God, we won't be able to do it. And everything, like, this is why it's important, bro, because even what you were saying, right, like, you might think, like, it's not a big deal, right, that that this or that is happening, but at the end of it is character. What does that translate to in the future? What does it translate to? And that's where I think the key is, that that's where parenting comes in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and we can't just minimize everything.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to address everything. But just because we're addressing it doesn't mean that it needs to come up in a hard way every time. Yeah, there's times where you need a little bit more force, a little bit of a stronger voice, but it's not every time. So we need to. I mean, I'm still learning, guys. You know, I'm new. This is a new territory for me. My kid is 4, and I'm still learning how to be a father.
Well, me too,
I'm
bro.
still learning how to be a dad, man.
Yeah.
I feel like, and God is still teaching me how to be a man. He's still teaching me how to be me, first of all. So, an imperfect man to raise a child and expecting perfection out of him at a very young age.
Doesn't equal, right?
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we forget that. We forget that they're little humans still little learning how to be where they're at. And I'm still learning how to be where I'm at. You know, and God has me through a season, and all of our seasons are different. But one thing that I do know that has helped me is, I was raised in a certain way, right? And I know what worked and what didn't work for me. And you know, we all have parents, whether you see them as the greatest parents in the world or the worst parents in the world.
Right.
You know, you still learn something. They set you with something. They set you with a certain set of tools that you have. Yeah. And, you know, we need to learn how to utilize. We can, okay, this works. I'm going to do this. That didn't work. I can scratch that. That's not going to help me.
Right.
You know, and it's a learning process.
Figuring it out.
Yeah, it is, man.
Like,
and
you learn as you move forward.
Yes.
And that's also what I was telling you, bro, that, you know, like a lot of the ideas that I had before having kids, none of them came to pass now that I'm there, you know, now that I'm here, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's the truth of it, that there is no exact way, you know, there is no recipe. We figure it out as we go. We figure it out as we move forward. And I think that's the thing, you know, like just remembering what you said, that helps me. What you said is like, we're imperfect.
Yeah.
Asking for perfection it doesn't equal. That is so good, bro. And that's, you know, that's important to keep.
Yeah, man.
You know?
I think that derives, like for me, it derives from wanting Zeke to live a better life than what I lived. Yeah. Meaning not wanting him to struggle with the things that I struggled with. I mean, I think that goes for every parent out there, that they want their kids to be far better than what they were. Yeah. And you know, that's something that I want. I want Zeke to be a better man, a better man of who I am now. And it's our job as parents to give him these tools. And we all have our struggles. You know, we all have our own individual set of struggles that we go through. Yeah. We have these things sometimes that your whole family has dealt with. Yes. And it's scary to think sometimes that, oh, my son might have to deal with that. Like my son might have to deal with pride, because I've dealt with pride. Yes. My son might have to deal with lust, you know, because I've dealt with lust, or addiction, because I've dealt with addiction. So this is what I've been thinking about, man. It's just God has equipped me to raise my son. Yes. See, God chose me to raise my son. On purpose. On purpose. God chose my wife to raise this son. Yes. To raise him. Yes. To be the man that God knows he can be. Yes. See, God pre-planned this. It was not an accident. Your kids were not an accident. No. See, God knew exactly what he was doing. We might not know what we're doing, but God knows what he's doing.
And that's why we need to rely on God.
Amen.
Because we don't know what we're doing. There's no way.
But he entrusted us to steward them towards the right direction. Yes. See, and you know, it's actually biblical. Let me lean into my word real quick.
Let me get into it.
Let me jump into it, man. First, Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Wow. You know, this is really powerful, man. And you know, I didn't grow up in a super religious home. You know, my parents were Catholic and we went to church. You know, they instilled morals in me. Yeah. Right? And these are the basic morals, you know, do not kill, do not steal, you know, and whatnot, etc. Pero with that, God did so much with that. You see, for I was lost for a very long time, but his word is true. I found my way back. I did not depart from the root, from the core that my family gave me.
That's good.
Now we need to trust and do our part. Trust in God and trust in his promises. And we might not know the timing, So I need to be aware
Wow.
that Zeke might live a life. I don't want to say it. Of failures. He might mess up. He might do it wrong. He might fall.
You said something though, bro. You okay. First Kings,
Mm-hmm.
chapter 2,
Yeah.
starting in verse 1, all the way to 11. This is when David, he's in his old age. He's about to die, right?
Right.
He's going to pass the kingdom on to Solomon. He's telling him, these are your enemies, because now they're not going to be David's enemies no more.
Right.
He's going to die.
Huh.
So now those enemies, by default, right?
Yeah.
Now they become Solomon's enemies. And David is laying out the plan, bro. And he's telling him, these are your enemies. These are who your enemies are. And these are your allies. And this is who we defeated. And, you know?
Yep.
So you're doing that, as you were saying, as you were talking about Zeke. That's what it is. That's what God called us to tell our kids what our past enemies were, so that if they're defeated, you know, they're defeated.
Yep.
But you need to be aware of who the enemies are right now.
Amen. Right. I love that, dude.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's so powerful. You know, because we're already equipping him.
Mm-hmm.
We're not hiding in shame.
Yeah.
You see, this is where us as parents open up. Mijo, like, yo la regué, la regado.
Yeah.
And this is the way that I did it. This
Yes.
is where I went wrong.
Yes.
But that was defeated. This is what you're saying. See, because we inherit the enemies of the past generations.
Yes.
And, you know, to bring more clarity to that, like, we inherit these enemies of sin.
Yes.
You know, our sinful ways. Sometimes they do not depart from us, and they are with us.
Yes.
You know, but we need to teach them. These are the tools that I use to defeat that Goliath, to defeat the Goliath of addiction. You know, that giant that I had to overcome. Equal, like, this is how you can overcome it.
Wow.
I know it's hard. You might not understand now, but they can be defeated.
Yes.
I know they might seem like giants at this moment,
Yes.
but there are ways. There are ways to bring down the giant.
Yeah.
See, David did.
David did.
And these stories are placed in the book, in the book of life,
Yes.
in the truth.
Yes.
So we understand and we
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And just like these enemies we inherit the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we inherit that as well. And we need to use that.
Watch this, bro.
Go for it.
From Kings. Check
Yeah.
this out, okay? From what I just told you. First Kings, chapter 2, verse 3. This is what it says. Observe the requirements of the Lord your God and follow all of his ways. Keep his decrees and commands, regulations and laws written of the law of Moses, so that you will be successful in all you do and wherever you go. That's exactly what you're saying. You're making God number one,
Yes.
and that's it. That's the key. You're giving your son, you're giving your kids those tools for everything, because God is first. God is at the center. Everything else will flow out of that. And like you were saying, for you, like, you came back, right?
Absolutely.
But then after this, like, you're telling him the key is God, and these are the enemies. You're equipping them for success, bro.
Yep.
But how many of us don't have those conversations? And we need to start having them. We need to start having those conversations.
Yeah. I think a lot of times what really hides us or pushes us away from having those conversations is the shame.
Mm-hmm.
Is having to admit that we failed,
Yeah.
that we're not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what people fail to realize is that is where the power comes from.
Yes.
You know, where you can be vulnerable with your children.
Mm.
You know, it's obviously going to depend and vary on the ages
Yeah.
that they're at, you know, but
Yes.
at one point when Zeke gets older to where he understands, you know,
Yes.
I'm going to have all these conversations
Yes.
with them. I should be having these conversations with them. So
Mhm.
he understands, you know, we're not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You're not meant to be perfect. We're going to
Yes.
make mistakes, you know, but we need to lean on God on everything that we do, whether we're struggling or whether we're succeeding. Regardless, we need to come to God in both aspects of our lives. We need
Yes.
to always come to God, no matter what it is. And these are the tools that's going to get us past any situation that you can possibly be going through. Any type of addiction that can be conquered.
Yes.
Any type of lust, conquered.
Yeah.
Pride, conquered.
Yes.
You know, but we can't conquer them. without God, without Jesus in the middle, we can't do any of that.
Can't.
We can't depend on our own will, on our own strength to get past that, because we're gonna fail.
Yes.
Because through our own forces, through our own strength, that strength depletes, man.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you know whose strength never depletes? That's Jesus. That's God's strength. That never depletes.
It's everlasting.
It's everlasting. Yes. And
yes.
there's a reason why whenever something big happened in the Bible, when Jesus was around, he always had to look at his Father. Mm-hmm. He had to take time apart and pray with his Father.
Yeah.
Because he needed to connect with his Father to give him the strength to know where he needed to go next and how to continue this endeavor that he had.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
He could not do it alone. He had his disciples, yes. But that's not, he needed to connect with God before. Mm-hmm. Before most anything else, he needed to connect with God, with his Father.
Foremost.
Yes.
First and foremost. And you know what, bro? Like, I told you this. There's times when I'm dealing with something with my kids, and I just, like, dude, like, I don't even know how to approach this. Like, God, please help me. Please give me wisdom in this moment. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to parent, right?
Yeah.
And God will give us that wisdom, bro. Through an example, through something. Like, God will show up, but we got to put him first.
Yeah.
We got to put him first. And that's, like, even right before we started recording today, I was telling you, my kids were going at it. You know, I have an 8-year-old and I have a 6-year-old. They were going at it, and we were telling them the importance of this, of learning conflict management, is for your relationships in the future. Why? Because me and your mom, we didn't learn this, right? We were telling them, we didn't learn this until later in life, and it caused a lot of hardships.
Oh man!
And that's what I'm telling you, bro. That if we could only equip our kids to have these tools at such an early age, they'll be ahead of the game. You know, they don't have to learn these things at 20 or at 30 years old, because it's a controlled environment. Yeah. Right now when they're young, as they get older, they'll learn, and it might not be as easy. You know, or it might, like, you might think, oh, it's painful to teach, like, these lessons or whatever. Yeah. But it's going to be more painful later in the future, bro. And that's why the importance of it. And that's what we were telling them, you know, like, you have to learn how to fight for your relationship. Like, in this case, you and your brother need to be in communion and talk to each other. What's going on with you? What's going on with him? Like, how do you resolve this? Yeah. How do you compromise? You know, that was something that in my family, bro, we really struggle with. Communication. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely, dude.
But just getting better at having those tools. These are tools that are at our disposal now, that were learned through the hard way. You know, me and Lupita are practicing that communication. I always tell you that. But now it's time for them to learn it at such a young age, so that they're empowered. So in the future, they don't struggle with these things. You know? Yeah.
I mean, I struggle with the same thing in my relationships and communications and conflict resolution. They were foreign, you know, growing up. That was a foreign concept, you know. You shrug it off and you continue. You act like nothing happened. You brush everything under the rug and continue moving like nothing happened. Yes. You know, but there's no growth in that. Yeah. You know, you don't develop anything. Yes. And that's a hindrance for later on for future relationships. I mean, I struggled with relationships. I struggled with the relationship with my wife in the beginning because I did not know how to address any type of conflict. It was easier to walk away, run away, I guess you can say. We're running away from the problem than to face it and address it. And I think with kids, I think sometimes we're fearful to address situations and we ignore it. Yeah. And we should be doing the opposite. Yes. You know, once that conflict rises, once that situation rises,
that's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity to step into it and help it resolve that situation so they can move forward with the tool. And now they acquired a tool. And help them to show him how to use that tool continuously so it becomes part of their arsenal. Because if they do it once and then we don't follow up with it, then it's just a tool that they use for a day and then it's lost. Yeah. It was just a borrowed tool. Yeah. It's not going to do anything. Yeah. It's disposable. Yeah. So we need to be able to address the situation at hand, but in a way to where the child understands. You know, I think something that's hard, especially because it all depends on our kids and where they're at and their understanding. Yeah. You know, if you need to scoop down to their level, scoop down to their level.
And their character too. And that's another thing.
Oh man, that's another thing.
Like they're just so different, bro. They're just so different, you know? Yeah. And we need to make room for those interruptions. You know? As they're happening. Like you said, instead of sweeping it under the rug. Deal with it right there. That's a character building moment. That's an opportunity. Don't let that go on. Because why? If you do, then it's going to come up later. Maybe when they're older, maybe in a different way. But if you deal with it right then and there, you just gave them a tool.
Yes.
That in the future they have access to. Hey, this happened before. This is how you deal with this. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, man. And I think the longer it plays out, the harder it is to address it.
Yeah.
You know, my dad used to have a saying when I was younger. He would say, "No, pues, ¿cómo vas a enderezar un árbol que ya creció chueco?"
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Ni a
Yeah.
golpes.
You can't.
You know, you
yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
You can't straighten it out.
Yeah.
It's better to do it at a young age. That's
Yeah.
what, going back to the
Because
Proverbs.
it's more
you know,
malleable.
yes.
You could shape it.
You can mold it. You can
You
shape
could put a
it.
stake on it. You could straighten it up, and it'll straighten up and straighten up. Yeah.
And that requires a little bit of discipline.
Yes.
You know, and we have to be intentional with the children. And I know, for me, I struggle with that a little bit because I struggle with authority. I struggled with the relationship with my father, so that almost wanted to intervene. So I took a lot of intentionality from my part to pray and to help God guide me and remold me in a way to I can be a better father. You know, it's not to say Dad was a horrible father, because he wasn't. You know, he did the best that he could with the tools that he had. But I want Zeke to be better than me. Yeah. It's just about being better than the last generation, equipping him with more tools now that I had. Yeah. You know, so he can be a better man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to trust God in the process and lean on that. Continue leaning on God and give space for God. And I think I love what you said about the interruptions, because a lot of the times I should say, things to play out a certain way. You know, we think about the end goal of the man who he's going to be when he's older, and when we don't see that, when that doesn't line up to our vision in the future, it's almost like, hold on, this is not working out. Yeah. And now I'm just going to, drop bombs on him. Yeah. And he's going to get it, and he's going to understand the hard way. And that's not what it's about. You know, we can't focus so much in the long run, but focus on the now, on what's happening now.
That's good.
Let's focus on what he can grow and what he can change right now. Yeah. Little by little. Yeah. We don't have to wait till something extreme happens. It's being able to, but that requires a lot of intentionality. It does. And actually walking with our kids. Being aware, being involved with what's going on, knowing what's happening in their schools if they go to school, or who's teaching and what they're teaching them. We need to be more intentional with our time with them. Yes. We do. Yes. And you know what? Now I'm seeing that more than ever, especially Zeke as a little boy who will be a man. I need to be more intentional with them. As the man that I am, I need to be there for the man that he's going to be.
And that's, you know, like we talk about this all the time, bro, but it's not really in the I guess you would say, like in the structure of telling them how to do something. Yeah. But in the walking and showing them. Yeah. You know, walking and showing by action, you know? And that's where they learn, bro. But in order to do that, you need to be present. Yeah. You need to be there. It needs to be intentional. You know, and that's why, like, we talk about that all the time. Like, I have date nights with my kids, you know? Yeah. You need to create those moments, bro.
That's really good. I love that.
Because in those moments, like you said, you create that space for that. It's intentionality. We have to be intentional, bro.
And I like to believe that, you know, with that, you cultivate trust. Yes. You cultivate trust with your children. Yes. So where, you know, later on when they grow up and they have these conversations or something happens at school, they're going to trust, they're going to have a relationship with you to where they can come to you and not turn to their friends instead. Yeah. Because I never turned to my parents, man, for anything, for any advice that would happen to my life. I would not turn to them because I would receive a lot of it negative. And like, I don't get anything positive from there, so I'm not going to turn to them. Yeah. I'm going to turn somewhere else. Yes. Somebody who's going to be on my side, not against me. But we need to be for our children.
We need to be for them.
And which means, you know, if they're doing something wrong, address it. Yeah, but we should also be addressing what they're doing right as well. Yeah. Yeah, mijo, good job. Yeah. That was awesome.
I love that, dude.
Keep doing that.
I love it. You know, I was thinking about, so my kids, they do something called brotherly time, right? Or brother time. Very intentional. Right before they go to bed, they spend a good 15 minutes together, right? Yeah. Doing whatever they want. So we asked them this weekend, we asked them, we said, hey, when you guys grow up, how are you going to make time for brotherly time? We asked them, you know, they're men at this point. Right. And they're like, well, I'm gonna invite my brother golfing, or I'm gonna invite my brother to pizza. You know,
Yeah.
those are things we do now.
Yeah.
But just I love that, bro, because we're creating that rhythm already. You know.
Yeah.
And then my wife goes and she's like, "And how are you gonna have time with daddy?" Like, we're gonna go fishing. It's automatic. We do it all the time.
That's a given.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's not gonna change.
we're gonna go fishing and we're gonna go talk, because we do it all the time. But the rhythm starts now, bro. And I love to see that. I was just like, man, our kids, your kids, my kids, they're growing up so different than how we grew up, bro. But it's about that. It's about creating those rhythms, creating those environments for them to be able to experience these tools and
Yes.
have a plethora of tools, bro, at their disposal. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And that's what it's about. So that those enemies, they're no longer enemies. They're in the past. You defeated them, Marco. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's what it's about,
And
bro.
if they do come back, mijo,
This
this
is how you deal with it.
is what defeated the
Yes.
pride. This is what defeated the lust.
Yeah.
This is what
Amen.
defeated the addiction.
Amen.
You know, you have this at your arsenal now
Yeah.
because we
Yes.
trailed that. We were trailblazers.
Yeah.
You know, we did something different.
Yeah.
And because of that, you know, there's God's promises, man, that he's going to have blessings, not just on us, but our generations to
Mhm.
come.
Yeah.
And, you know, his promises do come.
Yes. Yes.
They are truth. And we need to hold on to that.
Yes.
And
amen.
trust in God, you know, wholeheartedly,
Mhm.
knowing that this will be so.
Yes. That's so good, Compa Marco. And man, the job of parenting is not one that you could look at an owner's manual, bro. The owner's manual, God has it. And we need God to be at the center
Yes.
for God to
Yes.
give us that wisdom
Yeah,
of
man.
what that is. But we're not going to find it in a book. You know, there's different techniques, there's different things that might work,
Yeah.
but we're going to find it, the owner's manual, with God. That's where it
Amen,
is.
man. Amen.
He created our kids, Copo Marco.
He did.
So he
He
will
did.
give us the wisdom, and he will give us the tools and everything that we need for them.
Yeah. I
He's,
agree.
God is entrusting us with his children. That's what it is. And it's just a process, bro.
It is.
It's just a process.
And we're just impatient sometimes,
Yeah.
man. You know, I feel like I'm just impatient
Yes.
sometimes. You
well,
know, I
me
just
too, bro.
I found myself trying to have Zeke be a little bit more like me,
Mm.
and you know, and but at that point, I'm not thinking about what is God gonna do
Mhm.
with him, you know, because Zeke was created for a purpose.
Yes.
So I need to be aware of his strength and his weaknesses, and how to help build him
Mm.
where he's at, and not compare him to anybody else.
Yeah.
Any other kid at his age, you know, because God has made everybody differently. You know, we don't have all the same stripes. You know, we're unique in God's eyes, and we're unique for a purpose. You know, we're all set aside for him, and to fit in a different part of the body of Christ
Yeah.
to do his work,
Mm-hmm.
to do his kingdom,
Yes.
you know, to glorify his name. So it's like comparing apples to oranges.
Mhm.
You know, they're both fruits. They're both sweet, you know, but they're different.
They're different.
They're different. And it's like comparing somebody's strength to somebody's weakness.
Mm.
It's going to be unproportioned.
Yeah.
You know, we can't do that to our kids.
It's unfair.
It's unfair.
Yeah.
It's unfair to, you know, have this fake standard
Mm-hmm.
that isn't ideal.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to almost forget about every other kid,
Mhm.
every other children,
Mm-hmm.
and just focus on what our kid needs
Yes.
at the time that he needs it.
Yeah.
What
And-
does he need right now?
And tend to the heart, bro.
First and foremost,
Yes.
tend to the heart.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, you know, our kids will act out to receive attention, even though it's negative, but they
Yeah.
want to receive some type of attention.
Yes.
So if that's the case, we need to start giving him more positive feedback,
Mm-hmm.
positive attention, not so much negative attention.
Yeah.
We need to find balance in our
Yeah.
life.
Take a test and they'll tell you this is your love language. This is how you feel love. So we just did that for the kids, bro.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting
That's crazy.
to see like what their love language is, because there was little hints, you know, like, oh, this guy might be this guy might be that, but they went through the questions, and it was kind of opposite of what we had in mind in the first place, you know. And that gives us such a good tool to love them the right way, and that gives both of them the right tool to love each other in that way. And that's what we talk about. How can you honor each other through the way that your brother likes to be loved?
Yeah.
Or how can I honor them? You know what I mean?
By the way, they like to be loved.
And vice versa. How do you guys honor your parents? And it's amazing, bro. It's amazing, all those tools, man. And to tend to the heart is the key, how you were saying. I love that.
I can already see my little boy, man. Like he's a little bit like me. Like he's touch and affirmations. When he needs a hug, man, he will not be shy to say, "Papi, I need a hug.
Yeah,
I just want to hug you." But ven, mijo, let me give you a hug. Kyle, you know, come over here. Y lo hizo brazo, and he's like, "Daddy, I love you." Oh, papas, I love you too. You know,
let's go with the words.
You know, yeah, you know, I love you too. That makes me feel good. Yeah. You know, but you're right, man. You're right. Just being able to understand our children and what their needs are, and be able to meet those needs so that they're filled.
Yes.
You know, because I think sometimes we just forget, because they're so little.
Yeah.
That they feel.
Mm-hmm.
They have emotions.
That they need.
They have needs. Yes, you know, they have this too.
Yeah.
As little as they are, they still need all of that. And we
right.
should be able to tend to them and what their needs are. And I love what you said, man, about them. You know, there's no perfect book that's going to cover every parental aspect of our lives. So, okay, this book is going to help every single parent out there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I believe that 100%, man, you know, because every situation is going to be different. Yes. We need to adapt.
Yes.
We need to be able to adapt to the situations that come our way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because parenting, that's what it is, man.
Yeah.
It's being able to adapt to situations. I
didn't see that one coming.
I didn't see that coming at all. How am I going to address it? Because it needs to be addressed. Yes. We can't just forget about it and ignore it and pretend like it never happened. Yeah. Because it's going to come up again. Yeah. You know, things that, like, I learned it now. Mm-hmm. You know, things that I haven't dealt with in my past, they have ways of coming back up later on. Yeah. Oh, I got it under control. I put it in a jar. I put it in a lid. Put it all the way down. Yeah. No pasa nada. Yeah. You know, but no, man, like, that can't take so much. Eventually, that lid's going to pop off, and it's going to come out, and it's going to be chaos. Yeah. You know, so we got to address it before it turns into that.
That's right.
Because if not, it will hurt them in the long run. And sometimes, or a lot of the times, because it depends where they're at, really, but they might not even know what's going on. Yeah. They might not even know the emotions that they're dealing with, because that's new for them still. Yeah. They're still in that developing phase, depending on what age they're at, you know, where they're developing these emotions, these feelings, these ideas, and we need to help them. We need to drop down to a level, figure out where they're at, and help them get through that season of where they're at. Yeah.
That's right. That's right, compa Marco. I love it, man. I love this conversation, bro. And I think it's a ongoing conversation.
Oh, for sure, man. No, absolutely.
We're not done.
No.
We have far ways to go, man.
Oh, we got ways to go for sure.
And I love this conversation, bro. I think I would love to, maybe in the future. Yeah. We could have more of these conversations.
That'd be amazing, yeah.
As we're learning more things, as we're struggling with more things, as we're dealing with this, as we're having victories, you know, we could share that.
We can, man. You know, and I encourage you guys, if you're listening, if you do listen, you know, drop a comment, drop something in the message. Let us know some of your ideas, you know, something that's helped you deal through obedience with your children, or whatever it is that you guys want to share, not just with us, but, you know, with our community as well. That way, you know, we can use each other, man. Like, because, you know, we go through seasons, different times of our life, because your kids right now, they're older. Yes. You know, they're 8 and 6. 8 and 6. Yeah. Fíjate, my son is 4, so 2 years below. It's 8, 6, 4. That's cool. Oh, cool. You know, I just got that. But, you know, you can help me through something that Zeke is going to go through, because both of your kids have already gone through that age or through that stage. Right. And, you know, just like we can help each other. Right. We can help each other be better.
Right.
Because, God called us to do life together, not to be alone, man,
Yeah.
because we're a community and we should be able to help each other
That's
out
right.
to move forward together.
And what
God-centered, of course.
and what you always say, it takes a tribe, right?
It takes a drive.
You
Papa.
always say that.
I do, man. And
that's so true.
I stand by it.
Yeah.
I stand by it.
Yeah.
I trust that because we do life together,
Yeah.
I'm able to speak life into your kids.
Yes.
And I trust that you would do the same with my son.
Absolutely.
And I see it already, how they lean towards that.
Yes.
It's almost like, we've been accepted into
Yes.
this tribe through our kids,
That's right.
and they look to us for certain things. They
Mhm.
look for our approval. And it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And I love it, because everyone loves each other.
Yes.
And we're there for each other. And they know that what you're going to say or what I'm going to say comes from a place of love. And we can trust that it comes from a good
Yes.
place, especially because we're God-centered.
Yes.
It's,
That's right.
it's part of it.
God-centered.
It's part of it. And it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to not do life on your own.
Yeah. That's right.
And to have friends you can count on,
That's right.
even to raise kids. It takes more than one, guys.
Yeah.
It takes more than one.
Man. Well, guys, I think this conversation, Gompo Marco, it's worth having in the future.
Of course, we'll leave it at to be continued.
To be continued. But thank you for joining us this
Yes.
time. We love you guys. We're so glad that you were part of this. We'll see you next week.
Ciao.